Soldiers, here you mean nothing. In this city, I am the law.
The chilling words spilled from Officer Trent Malloy's mouth, turning the entire room into an underground courtroom where justice bent and twisted to his will. Marcus Ellison and Tiana Brooks, two Navy SEALs who had survived the hell of battlefields, now stood in handcuffs like criminals, not because of guilt, but because of the arrogance of a man who treated power as a game. The humiliation squeezed tighter than the cold steel around their wrists. Marcus, the commander who once pulled his men from the fire, could only remain silent. Tiana, the soldier who had saved her entire team in the dead of night, lifted her head high, staring back into his contemptuous eyes. They were heroes reduced to the lowest rung, their honor stripped away in an instant. But Malloy didn't know. Truth always has allies. And when the courtroom doors swing open, someone will step inside carrying enough weight to turn the entire game on its head. He once thought that his police badge would make him untouchable. But then, when the courtroom doors swung open, the highest-ranking person in that room wasn't him. Picture this: a Saturday night in San Diego, California, just a few blocks from the harbor, where massive Navy ships rested silently under the glow of amber streetlights. The salty air from the ocean mixed with the savory scent of late-night taco stands, painting a scene that felt deceptively peaceful. Inside a small restaurant called Delgado's Grill, two friends sat at a table near the window, Marcus Ellison and Tiana Brooks. To outsiders, they looked like any ordinary diners, sharing food and laughter. But in truth, both were Navy SEALs. Men and women who had risked their lives countless times, placing their fate in the hands of war itself. Marcus leaned back, smirking as he wiped salsa from his chin. "T, you always order the spiciest thing on the menu just to prove a point." Tiana laughed. "Don't blame me just because you can't handle heat. You're fearless on the battlefield, but give you a habanero and suddenly you're in tears." Their laughter echoed. The kind of laughter only forged through storms survived together. But then, the atmosphere outside the window shifted. A patrol car slowed down, its red and blue lights flickering for just a moment before disappearing into darkness. Marcus noticed first. His eyes tracked the car, the way it lingered like a shadow. He said nothing, just watched in silence. Minutes later, when the two stepped out of the restaurant and headed toward Marcus's black Ford, the sharp slam of a car door behind them made them freeze. "Hey, you two, stay right there." The voice was curt, cold. They turned and saw Officer Trent Malloy striding toward them. Tall, broad-shouldered, his buzz-cut hair and hard features carved with arrogance. His hand was already resting on his holster. Marcus frowned. "Is there a problem, officer?" Malloy didn't answer right away. His gaze swept over the truck, then back at them. "This vehicle looks suspicious. Whose is it?" Marcus kept his voice calm, the habit of a man trained in discipline. "It's mine. Papers are in the glove compartment. You can check." But Malloy narrowed his eyes. "Step away from the vehicle. Hands where I can see them." Tiana crossed her arms, her tone steady yet firm. "We just had dinner. We've done nothing wrong. I'll say it one more time. Hands on the hood. Now!" A flashlight beam cut across their faces, though the streetlights were already bright enough. Marcus and Tiana exchanged a glance, the kind of look forged in ambushes in the desert, in moonless swims across enemy waters. And yet, here at home, they were being treated like criminals outside a family diner. Marcus tried once more. "Officer, there's no need for this. I can show you my military ID." "I said, hands on the hood." Malloy's voice thundered, echoing across the block. Before they could react, their wrists were yanked behind them, the cold click of steel cuffs biting into their skin. The humiliation burned deeper than the metal's grip. Passers-by stopped to stare, a couple froze in place, and from inside the restaurant, someone pulled back a curtain to watch. Tiana shook her head, her voice taut with anger. "This is harassment. You have no reason." Malloy smirked, leaning close. whispering with smug delight. Reason? I decide what counts as a reason, and trust me, I've got plenty. Marcus bit his lip, swallowing his rage. Military discipline had taught him silence, but in that silence, a chilling realization sank in. Tonight wasn't about the law anymore. It was about power. In the back of the patrol car, city lights blurred past the tinted glass. Tiana sat rigid, jaw clenched. Neither spoke, but they didn't have to. Both knew this was just the beginning of a battle they never asked for. The San Diego Central Division was only a few miles away, yet the short ride dragged on longer, heavier than any military march they'd endured. Inside, the air reeked of stale coffee and disinfectant. Malloy marched them through intake. Some officers looked up. One frowned in confusion, another smirked faintly, as if this scene was nothing new. Two suspects, resisting and acting suspicious around a vehicle that wasn't theirs. Malloy's words dropped like stones into still water. A young officer behind the desk raised his brows. Suspicious activity. That sounds vague. Malloy's eyes sharpened. You want to write the report for me? Marcus finally broke his silence, his voice firm and clear. We didn't resist. I offered to show papers. I am Lieutenant Commander Marcus Ellison, U.S. Navy. This is Sergeant Tiana Brooks. We've both served overseas. You can call the Department of Defense right now to confirm. Malloy scoffed. Oh, so now you're war heroes? How convenient. Tiana stepped forward, her wrists still bound, her voice unflinching. It's not convenient, it's the truth. Verify it, and you'll see you're the one making a fool of yourself. Malloy leaned close, voice low and taunting. We'll see about that. You think anyone here cares who you are out there? In here, you're just two more suspects in the system. His words hissed through clenched teeth, hanging heavy in the disinfectant-tainted air. The young desk officer hesitated, glancing between Marcus, Tiana, and Malloy. Maybe we should check their records before filing. I'll handle the paperwork later. Malloy cut him off, his tone flat. Marcus drew in a deep breath, his voice measured but grave. Officer Malloy, listen to yourself. You're detaining two service members without cause. That's not just wrong, it's unlawful. Malloy tilted his head, a mocking smile creeping across his face. Service members. That means nothing here. In this city, I am the law. Two other officers stepped forward, shoving Marcus and Tiana into a holding cell. The steel door slammed shut, its metallic clang echoing down the corridor. Inside, the concrete walls radiated chill, the bench unyielding beneath them. Tiana sat first, shaking her head. I've been shot at in Afghanistan, but I never thought I'd end up in jail back home just for having dinner. Marcus sat beside her, elbows on his knees. This isn't about us, it's about him. Men like Malloy need control. The moment they see someone who doesn't fit their mold, they invent reasons to break them down. Tiana exhaled, steadying herself. We've been through worse. We'll get through this too. The truth is on our side. But both of them knew. Truth didn't always win, especially when the pen writing the report was in the hands of an arrogant man. Time crawled. Malloy passed by their cell more than once, glancing in with a half smile, as if daring them to speak. The last time, he stopped, leaning against the bars. Get used to it. Tomorrow morning, you'll have the chance to defend yourselves in court. Let's see how far those Navy ranks take you. Tiana met his gaze, her voice calm but sharp as a blade. You should worry more about your lies than about us. For a split second, Malloy's smile faltered. Then he turned and walked away, leaving behind a cold silence. But silence could never last forever, because news of this arrest would sooner or later reach the ears of those who actually held power. Sitting shoulder to shoulder, Marcus and Tiana talked the way soldiers do when time seems frozen. Marcus leaned his head back against the wall, staring at the ceiling. It's ridiculous. All those missions, never knowing if we'd make it back. And now here we are, locked up because we had tacos on a Saturday night. Tiana let out a dry laugh. Life really does have a twisted sense of humor. She paused, her eyes glinting with a rare softness. Do you remember Fallujah? That raid at night, when Wilson was hit and you went back for him under fire? You didn't hesitate. Marcus shrugged. He would have done the same for me. But you didn't even think twice. That's who you are. Her voice hardened with frustration. And yet in Malloy's eyes, everything we've done means nothing. He only sees what he wants to see. The silence that followed felt heavier than gunfire. Tiana leaned forward, elbows on her knees. Do you know why I enlisted? My father worked 2 jobs in Detroit just to keep the lights on. He told me if I wanted more, I'd have to fight for it myself. The Navy gave me that chance, and now, after everything I've sacrificed, to be treated like garbage. She shook her head, eyes burning red. It really hurts. Marcus was quiet for a moment, then nodded. I know. My dad in Alabama was the same. Didn't have much, but he had pride. He always told me, don't let anyone tell you what you can't become. I carried those words everywhere, and I won't let someone like Malloy break them. A faint smile touched Tiana's lips. Sounds like our dads would have been good friends. They both chuckled softly, but the weight of the moment still pressed down on the room. These weren't ordinary civilians swept up by chance. These were people who had carried the flag into places others dared not go, who had survived deserts, storms, and loss. And now, the battle that shook them most was happening on their own soil. Footsteps broke the quiet. Malloy passed again, not stopping, only leaving behind a cryptic smile, as if he knew something they didn't. Marcus watched him go, muttering under his breath. He thinks he's untouchable. Yeah, Tiana replied. Men like him always do, until the truth catches up. Her eyes met Marcus's, steady and fierce. We've faced worse, and no matter what happens tomorrow, he won't write our story for us. For the first time since their arrest, Marcus smiled, not brightly, but with the quiet resilience of someone who had survived the impossible before. At the same time, across the station, Malloy sat in his cramped office. The overhead light flickered, casting his smug grin in sharp relief. In front of him lay scattered reports and an empty coffee cup. His fingers tapped quickly across the keyboard. Resisting arrest, suspicious vehicle, disturbing the peace. Malloy muttered each charge under his breath, like a chef sprinkling unnecessary salt onto a dish already too bitter. Out in the hall, Sergeant Hayes walked by, pausing at the doorway. Malloy, are you sure about this? Those 2 didn't look like trouble to me. One of them even said he was Navy. Hayes stood with his arms folded, eyes uneasy. Malloy didn't. Look up, fingers still flying over the keys. Everybody says that when they're arrested. Doesn't matter. If my report says resisting, then resisting is what it is. Hayes frowned. But if they really are service members, this could blow back on you. Malloy leaned back in his chair, smirking. You think I don't know what I'm doing? Trust me, Hayes. The system has my back. Judges don't question. Once I put it in writing, it's my word against theirs, and you know damn well whose word carries weight. Hayes shook his head and walked away. Malloy hit print, the machine clattering before spitting out the pages. He clipped them together with a sharp snap. Leaning back, satisfied, he smiled. To him, this wasn't about law. It was about power. The power to decide who belonged in this city and who did not. Back in the holding cell, Tiana whispered, Do you feel it? Marcus raised a brow. Feel what? That stench of arrogance in the air. He's writing a fairy tale, and tomorrow morning, it'll be scripture in front of the court. Marcus sighed, leaning his head back against the wall. He doesn't understand who he's dealing with. Maybe, Tiana replied, her tone sharp as ice. But the judge doesn't know who we are either. He walks in with a polished report, and we look like 2 troublemakers. The judge will believe him. Marcus turned to her, his voice slow but steady. Then we'll stand tall, like we always have. Truth is also a weapon. You just need to know when to use it. Before dawn, Malloy appeared again, tapping a thick folder against the bars. Sleep well, heroes? Tomorrow's a big day. Hope you've prepared a good speech. Tiana didn't blink. We don't need speeches. We have the truth. Malloy burst out laughing. Truth? Let me tell you something. Truth is pliable. It bends to the hand that writes the report, to whoever testifies first. By the time it gets to you, my version will already be the gospel. Marcus met his eyes. Ever heard the saying, every wall falls? No matter how many bricks of lies you stack, it only takes one brick of truth to bring the whole thing down. For a moment, Malloy's smile faltered, but then it returned. Wider, prouder, more arrogant. We'll see. His footsteps echoed down the hall as he walked away, never suspecting that outside, word of the arrest was already climbing the chain of command, faster than he imagined. Morning light streamed through the towering glass windows of the San Diego County Courthouse, casting pale golden streaks across the marble floor. Inside, papers rustled, families whispered anxiously, and now and then a bailiff barked for order. Marcus and Tiana were led in through a side door. Their hands were still cuffed. Their navy uniforms gone, replaced with bright orange prison jumpsuits, designed to make them look guilty before they even spoke a word. Tiana shook her head. They really want to turn this into a spectacle. Marcus kept his gaze forward, his voice resolute. Let them. Truth doesn't need a costume. They sat at the defense table. Their public defender flipped through a thin file, eyes tired. Listen, he said quietly. I don't know what happened out there, but Officer Malloy's report is very detailed. It says, resisted arrest, failed to show ID, matched description of a car theft suspect. That's a tough one. Tiana's voice cut like steel. None of that is true. I believe you, the lawyer whispered back. But I've seen this before. Courts usually trust police. Their word carries weight. Without hard evidence, it's just your word against his. Before they could respond, the courtroom doors swung open. Malloy entered, his uniform crisp, his chest puffed, his badge gleaming under the lights. He walked in like an actor stepping onto a stage. He glanced at Marcus and Tiana, smirked, then adjusted his badge, reminding everyone of who held power here. A few reporters scribbled notes quickly, clearly tipped off about this special arrest. Then Judge Rebecca Sloan took the bench. Her face was stern, her features carved deep by years spent sifting through lies, half-truths, and the rare, piercing flash of justice. Order, the bailiff commanded. The hearing began. Malloy spoke first. With carefully chosen words and a polished confidence, he painted Marcus and Tiana as aggressive, disobedient, and linked to suspicious activity. Phrases like public safety threat and failure to comply cut through the air like knives. Marcus and Tiana clenched their jaws, listening as their lives were twisted into a story they didn't recognize. When Malloy finished, he stepped back, triumph radiating from him, convinced the judge would nod in agreement. Judge Sloan's gaze shifted to the defendants. Do the defendants have anything to add? Marcus stood, the chains on his wrists clinking. His voice was steady, deliberate. Your Honor, everything you just heard is false. We complied with every order. We offered our identification. We broke no laws. We are service members of the United States Navy, serving this country with honor. His words sent a ripple through the courtroom. Even the reporters looked up, pens pausing mid-air. Malloy chuckled loudly, making sure the room heard. Oh, then I must be the mayor of San Diego. Military ID? Old trick. They'll say anything to dodge accountability. Tiana stepped forward, her voice ringing sharp and clear. We don't need to pretend, officer. Marcus followed, his tone cutting like a blade. Our records speak for themselves, but let's see how long your lies hold up. Judge Sloan raised her hand. That's enough. I will hear further testimony after reviewing the records. She turned to Malloy. You will submit your full report and all evidence. Malloy nodded, his smug smile stretching wider. Of course, Your Honor. I've already prepared everything. Marcus and Tiana sat down, their eyes locked. They knew the truth was theirs. But in this room, truth was nothing more than a whisper in a storm. And storms, sometimes, could change direction in an instant. The heavy oak doors at the back of the courtroom suddenly groaned open, making every head turn. A tall man entered, his navy uniform immaculate, rows of medals gleaming under the fluorescent lights. His presence needed no words. It commanded the room. It was Admiral Jonathan Reeves, commander of U.S. Navy Special Operations Forces. The courtroom fell silent. Even Judge Sloan leaned slightly forward, recognizing the stature of the unexpected guest. Malloy, who had been smirking, froze. His jaw tightened. He muttered under his breath, "What the hell?" Admiral Reeves walked straight to the defense table, looking Marcus and Tiana square in the eyes with calm resolve before turning to the bench. "Your Honor, I am Admiral Jonathan Reeves. These defendants are not criminals. They are Lieutenant Commander Marcus Ellison and Petty Officer First Class Tiana Brooks, my Navy operatives. Their service record cannot be smeared. I am here to testify for them." The room erupted in whispers. Cameras flashed. Reporters scribbled furiously. "Admiral Reeves, I was not informed of your presence here today," Judge Sloan said, her voice a mix of respect and sternness. "I came the moment I heard about this farce," Reeves replied, laying a thick folder on the defense table. Inside are official records, commendations, mission reports, and their security clearances. These are not the actions of criminals. These are the records of two people who have risked their lives for this country. Tiana exhaled, as if a weight had lifted off her chest. Marcus remained composed, but the corner of his mouth curled. The first smile since his arrest. Malloy stepped forward, his voice loud and urgent. "Your Honor, this is highly irregular. Military service does not grant immunity from the law." Reeves turned slowly, his gaze hawk-sharp. "No one is asking for immunity, Officer Malloy. We are asking for truth, something your report appears to lack." Murmurs rippled across the courtroom. Judge Sloan's eyes narrowed. Malloy's voice hardened, but it wavered at the edges. "They resisted, both of them. It's all in the report." Reeves took a step closer, his tone heavy as a hammer strike. "You claim they resisted. Lieutenant Commander Marcus Ellison is renowned for diffusing conflicts without firing a shot. Petty Officer Tiana Brooks has been decorated for keeping her team alive through calm leadership, and you expect me to believe these two lost control during a routine vehicle check outside a family restaurant?" The room fell silent. Malloy's face paled, his eyes darting toward the bench for support. But this time, Sloan's sharp gaze never left him. Reeves turned back to the court. "Your Honor, I do not obstruct the law, but I will not let lies tarnish the names of those who have sacrificed more than most of us can imagine. I demand this case be judged by truth and evidence, not arrogance." Judge Sloan nodded slowly. "Your request is noted, Admiral." Marcus and Tiana exchanged a grateful look. For the first time since the cuffs, they felt the ground returning beneath their feet. But the test wasn't over. Judge Sloan flipped through the folder Reeves had delivered, her voice resonant. "Lieutenant Commander Ellison, Petty Officer Brooks, this file confirms your service record and commendations. Impressive. Now you, Officer Malloy." Her eyes cut toward him, sharp as a blade. "I want you to explain why your report contradicts their records and character so severely." Malloy swallowed hard, trying to keep his posture rigid. "Your Honor, a service record doesn't erase what happened last night. They resisted. They raised their voices. They caused a scene." Tiana leaned forward, her voice steady but edged with steel. "That's false. We complied. We handed over our IDs." "Order." Sloan raised her hand. "You'll have your turn. I want concrete proof." She turned back to Malloy. What evidence do you have? Malloy fumbled with his folder, stammering. My statement, my observations, that's enough. Reeves interjected, calm but firm. With all due respect, Your Honor, there is a surveillance camera outside Delgado's grill. I had footage pulled through Navy channels the moment I heard of this. The video will show exactly what happened. Malloy's face drained of color. His voice faltered for the first time. That footage, it's inadmissible unless... Bailiff! Sloane cut him off, her voice sharp. Contact the restaurant immediately. I want that footage here at once. The courtroom buzzed. Reporters whispered. Recorders clicked non-stop. Malloy's hands trembled as he gripped his folder. Marcus leaned just slightly toward him, his voice low but razor-sharp. The funny thing about truth is, it doesn't need backup. It stands on its own. Minutes later, the footage arrived. A laptop was connected to the courtroom screen, every eye fixed forward. The video rolled. Marcus and Tiana exited Delgado's grill, laughing lightly. Malloy approached, his hand already on his holster, shouting. Marcus reached for his wallet, slowly, clearly, only to be shoved against the truck. Tiana raised both hands, clearly complying, yet was handcuffed roughly. No resistance, no aggression, only cooperation met with force. The room gasped. Judge Sloane leaned back, her face carved in stone. Officer Malloy, explain why your report directly contradicts this footage. Malloy's mouth hung open, words failing him. Sweat beaded on his temple. The footage, it doesn't tell the whole story. The angle, the lighting, they threatened. Reeves shook his head slowly, his eyes a silent verdict. You've just buried yourself. Tiana's voice cut the air cleanly. You humiliated us, arrested us without cause, nearly destroyed our honor, just because you thought you could get away with it. Marcus added, calm but firm. You picked the wrong people to frame. Crack! Judge Sloane's gavel struck. Enough. Officer Malloy, this court takes perjury and falsified reports very seriously. What I see here is a gross abuse of power. Bailiff, take him into custody, pending further investigation. The courtroom exploded. Reporters shouted questions. The public buzzed in disbelief. Malloy's face twisted from defiance to panic. Two bailiffs closed in. He thrashed, his voice desperate. You don't understand. I was just doing my job. They looked suspicious. Anyone would think so. But his protests only made the scene more pitiful. The cuffs snapped around his wrists. The same sound he had savored the night before, locking them on Marcus and Tiana. This time, the smug grin was gone. No more power, no badge to shield him, only the naked weight of truth. On a dark night in San Diego, Malloy believed his badge could rewrite truth. But under the light of justice, his arrogance crumbled, exposing the hollow man behind the authority he abused. While Malloy chose lies to protect his pride, Marcus and Tiana needed only one thing, truth. And truth saved them. It reminds us all that justice may be delayed, obscured, even mocked, but it never disappears. This wasn't just the clash between a corrupt officer and two falsely accused soldiers. It was proof that honor, courage, and loyalty to truth will always outlast false power. What about you? If you were in Marcus and Tiana's shoes, crushed by power but holding on to truth, how would you stand your ground? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, so we can continue bringing you stories of justice and human dignity.